If Barbie was life-sized, she would be 5'9" and weigh 110 pounds. She would be anorexic and too skinny to have a period. That is the message we send to little girls. The perfect girl that is loved by guys, specifically Ken, is blonde, beautiful, and anorexic. One woman in a study about sexual double standards said, "I see and hear men and women criticize or joke harshly about women with many partners. But with guys, if it is acknowledged that they have had many partners, usually men and women laugh it off, or at most, lightly reprimand them." Women. Women are the key to life on this earth. We are lovers, fighters, workers, humans. We deserve to be treated the same as men in the workplace, at home, at school, and walking down the street. Yet young women have to face the sexual double standard, the pressure to be skinny and sexy, and being underappreciated all over the world. This list doesn't even include discrepancy in pay, unequal opportunity in schools, and domestic violence. We women should be outraged and working to end this inequality, but we sometimes add to it. Instead of supporting each other, we judge each other. I know I have done this, and I definitely have been a victim of these pressures, just like all of the women you know. Men, imagine you felt the pressure that women feel. Imagine looking in the mirror and hating every curve in your stomach, every freckle on your face, cursing your shoulders that are too broad or ankles that are too fat. Imagine walking around school hating the way you look, avoiding everyone. Imagine walking home after a long day and being called at by drunk and horny men every block. Imagine the questions you would have to ask yourself when considering to have sex. You would have to make sure the boy will be willing to use a condom to keep you safe. Make sure the story won't get out. Figure out if he really cares for you. Be sure of how many women he has slept with. And consider whether the world will condemn you for what you have done. Women see and experience this problem, and men see this as just the way things are, just the way they should treat women. Men help perpetuate these prejudices with their own expectations of women. What if there were hoe pages for guys on Facebook? They would want to be put on them. Being promiscuous and slutty is good for a guy's image. It means you get girls and that girls want to be with you. Girls who were put on hoe pages could have cried about it. Sydney Forbes seems like any other teenage girl. She worries about her body image and tries to stay thin. Yet she is only 6 years old. Justine Gallagher is 5 years old. She eats paper instead of food in order to stay thin. She once said, "I thought if I ate my regular meals that I would get heavy and people would make fun of me." Some really sexy clothes are available in children's sizes, says psychologist Sharon Lamb. Girls are being taught very young that thin and sexy is the way they want to be when they grow up, so they better start working on that now. A Barbie doll in 1965 came with a bathroom scale fixed at 110 pounds and a book called How to Lose Weight, with instructions that said, "Don't eat." We are the reason that young girls are pushed over the edge so far by pressure to be skinny and sexy that they turn to eating disorders. Society is to blame for this. This pressure starts with Barbie, continues with Disney, and lives on through images of celebrities in magazines. Over the years, Disney movies have consistently shown the princesses, the ones who get to live happily ever after, as light-skinned and light-haired, with impossible figures. According to Susan Willard, director of the Eating Disorders Treatment Center at River Oaks Hospital in New Orleans, young girls who are dieting or have already started to develop eating disorders most often are following in their mother's footsteps. Their mothers are preoccupied by their body images and being skinny, and their daughters are just following suit. We can control the images we send to young girls. Women have been taught that their sexual needs don't matter and that their job is only to please men. This is not true. We women deserve just as much pleasure as men. And we have the right to feel comfortable with sex. In a study conducted by Robin R. Milhausen and Edward S. Harold, 46% of the women they interviewed said that women judge other women more harshly than men do. 42% said that men and women were equally harsh judges of women's sexual behavior, and only 12% said that men were the harshest judges. This means that women are judging and attacking other women just as much or more than men are. Women have been trained to believe in the double standard so well that we practice it ourselves. There is no way to stop it if we women are endorsing it. The study also showed that men want their partners for serious relationships to be less experienced with sex, but they want their casual sexual partners to be more experienced. So, in the end, they want virgins or women close to that, but they want freaks to mess around with. We can't be both. Women are forced to choose what they will be in life, a sexual partner or a wife. And there aren't enough women on earth for all women to barely sleep with men, and for men to have millions of women to sleep with. One girl in middle school made a comment to me that the word for male slut is stud. While women are called sluts, men are called studs for doing the exact same things. Most of the people interviewed in the study I mentioned before described women who were highly experienced with sex negatively and men who were highly experienced positively. 12% even described these women as being psychologically damaged, using words including insecure, lonely, desperate, needy, and unfulfilled. Women are looked at horribly for having experience with sex. People assume this means they are needy and desperate. Being sexual is a woman's choice. Women should have complete control over their bodies. They should be able to choose whether or not to have sex. And they should be able to choose whether they have abortions. I personally don't believe that abortion is the best option for an unwanted pregnancy, but it is the woman's choice. This issue is similar to the question of whether to make condoms available to the general public. If you don't give them condoms, people will still have sex unprotected. If you don't make abortions legal, people will still get them in dangerous back alley ways. Women have the right to have safe options to choose from. There are too many extenuating circumstances with women and sex. There is the possibility of rape, pressure to not use condoms, pressure to have sex, and the consequences that are left on the woman's shoulders. Especially with teenage pregnancies, men are very likely to not take responsibility for the choices that they make and leave the woman to take care of themselves and the baby. Girls are underappreciated in other parts of the world just as much as here. Out of the 130 million youth in the world that are out of school, 70% of them are girls. According to girleffect.com, research in developing countries has shown a consistent relationship between better infant and child health and higher levels of schooling among mothers. And when women and girls earn income, they reinvest 90% of it into their families, as compared to only 30 to 40% for a man. So, if we educate more girls, more families are likely to be supported, and more children will be healthy. Girls in India who get married younger than 18 are twice as likely to report being beaten or abused than girls who marry later. Girls have the right to marry when they are good and ready and when they will be loved. They deserve to have control over their education, their marriages, and their lives. In the study mentioned before, some participants used positive terms to describe women who were highly experienced with sex. These comments included independent, free to make her own choices, unashamed, outgoing, fun, sexy, and in touch with her own desires. This is how highly experienced women should be looked at, and these are hopefully closer to the truth than negative attributes. Women should be able to feel great about themselves with or without sex. Our society should encourage women to be independent and to demand the respect and appreciation we deserve. We should be able to be a healthy weight and to gain weight during periods like adolescence and pregnancy when we are supposed to gain weight and feel good about ourselves. We should be able to walk down a street and not feel like an object to be called at by every guy who pleases. We should be able to choose when to have sex and not be looked down upon for it. Or at least have men looked down upon equally for being highly experienced. We should be able to feel comfortable with sexuality. We should be able to have complete control over our own bodies and not have lawmakers make decisions about them. This would mean that the media would put out images of healthy women. Women would be shown in positions of power and independence. Young girls would feel pressure to be more than just a pretty face and skinny body. There would be no plus-size models. Everyone, as long as they were healthy, would just be called a model, someone to be modeled after. Girls everywhere would have the opportunity to be educated, have a loving husband, and provide for their family. Corporations and television shows would ignore the idea that sex sells and put more emphasis on intelligence. There could even be reality TV shows for women that are too skinny to gain weight to become healthy, instead of only shows for fat people to get skinny. Women would not feel dirty after being sexual, would not look to sex as the only way to feel wanted, and would not have to worry about being looked down on for making decisions about sex. Humans are programmed to reproduce to ensure that our species survives. It is literally natural to have sex, for men and women. In the days of kings and queens, being plump was a sign of wealth for women. It meant that they had enough money to be well fed. Nowadays, the people with the most money are the skinniest. They can afford personal trainers. Instead of taking advantage of the money and opportunity to be well fed, which poor, underfed people would have killed for back then, they are starving themselves. Being paler also used to be considered more beautiful. Now all of the sexy celebrities are tan. This proves that being skinny and tanned does not necessarily mean that you are beautiful. Those are not universal standards that have always been true for the human race. Those are standards our society has put in place today. Women are underappreciated and prejudiced against in subtle ways. A comment about a girl's weight. A woman in a submissive role on a television show. The word slut influencing someone's private life. It is our job to catch these wrongs and do all in our power to fix them, and to get others to do the same. And of course, it is each of our responsibilities to be sure not to commit them. I led a discussion about this with 8th graders, who are very susceptible to this type of pressure. You can share these facts and help empower women by liking my Facebook page. Girls demand respect, demand appreciation. Guys respect women. We can build a society where no 6-year-olds worry about their body images, and no 5-year-olds eat paper to stay thin. Paula Abdul, a dancer and singer, battled bulimia for 15 years. She always felt that she didn't look like the other girls on her cheerleading squad and in the dance industry. While they were tall and thin, she saw herself as short and fat. She started throwing up her food in order to stay thin when she was 16, following in the footsteps of many of her friends and competitors. As her career grew, so did the pressure. She once said, "I remember at a rehearsal for a TV show, I couldn't stay focused. I felt nervous and out of control, and all I could think about was food. Food numbed the fear and anxiety. I'd eat, then run to the bathroom." Eventually she realized that she could not keep living like that, and she checked herself into a clinic. There she received support and help. She recently said, "There are 3 things I commit to on a daily basis. Exercising for an hour a day, tops. Never skipping meals. And accepting the size and shape I was born with." Although she came to her senses, she went through a long, hard battle to get to that point. This happened because of the pressure that is put on women. Can the pressure on women lead only to anorexia? Or does it affect our body images, our choices about sex and condoms, how we dress and feed ourselves, and what options we have to choose from regarding education, resources, and pregnancy? Ultimately, the pressure that is put on women through Barbie, Disney, magazines, and men's expectations takes away the control that we women have over our lives. Thank you.